Hello, everyone, and welcome to War Table.
War Table.
Shiitake mushroom.
Table or table?
Table. War Table. Theaters of War. So this is going to be a Legion panel. For those who have stuck with us for 2.5 days, you're now going to start to get the really zany parts. We're kind of falling apart here at the seams.
Look at that little guy.
Been in this chair for so long. Thank you so much for joining us. Just got to give you an overview of this panel. So obviously on Thursday, we dropped a lot of huge updates for Star Wars Legion and the base gameplay experience between the new battle deck, the updated and rebalanced stat cards, and a lot of other things. And then on the roadmap, which was yesterday, we showed off a bunch of new cool things that are coming for the game. But we're not done with all of the Legion excitement yet. Today's table, or War Table, today's War Table, that's right. That's right. Table. Today's War Table. We're going to be talking about things that go beyond the standard base game experience for Legion. And we do have some very cool documents and updates that are going to be coming your way right after this. So all the things we're going to talk about, you're going to be able to download those and start using them in your games if you want to, or adding them into everything. So a huge week, a huge 3 days for Legion. We're going to start with our exploration of non-standard Legion games with Skirmish. Now, the Skirmish rules did go up alongside all of the updated documents on Thursday, so you do have access to those now. But we kind of wanted to take a moment, apart from all of the information that we had to get out in that first stream, talk a little bit about the mindset behind Skirmish, what Skirmish brings to the game, why it's so important for us, and how we kind of reimagined the scenarios into versions that lead players, either new players as a way to stepping stone into the main game, or as a way for players of the main game who have been playing for a while to be able to play smaller versions of the game that feel the same.
Yeah, and get used to some of the new rules changes, which are all in Skirmish basically, except for the setup is fully random in Skirmish, so that takes less time. We have a set of a mission deck with a primary, secondary, and an advantage for each player, and you just shuffle it and deal them out.
So you kind of end up with the same type of scenario, but you don't necessarily go through the full process. So Skirmish games can certainly give you a taste for the new rules and the new missions and those kind of things. So
and they're half size, so take at 500 points and 3x3 board. It's much easier just to get that set up and get running. They offer like a more intimate, centered experience. You know, the missions are much more central. They're much less about splitting up all your guys because you don't have as many. So
got about half.
Yeah. So we wanted to make sure that they were pretty easily playable while offering some interest. So we worked with the existing missions and found the ones that fit best with Skirmish and made some little changes to get it all together and make it so it's fun. Yeah.
And so kind of walk us through how the mission setup is different from the normal game, right? Because you're effectively removing a lot of the battle deck and things like that.
The players don't decide on a battle deck. It's just instead there's 3 primary mission cards that are associated with Skirmish and 3 primary objective, 3 secondary objective cards, and 3 advantage cards. And you just shuffle those decks separately, reveal 1 primary, 1 secondary, and 1 advantage per player. So, and you roll off to see who starts as the blue player. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, so we're really excited for this game mode to obviously be, again, like we've talked about, right? It's a great introduction for people who are coming into the game to learn. It's a great way for stores or communities to run a bit faster events. Yeah. Although, I think one of the great things about the adjustments to the base game is that the time to play did come down quite a bit. You're getting into the action faster. So there's a little, whereas in the original kind of before the update, we had a bigger gap difference in time between the two. They're a bit tighter now. But Skirmish is still plays a bit quicker, right? You might be able to get 1.5
There's overall
games
less
in the
decision making with just because of the smaller table. There's less places that you can deploy, and less like splitting up your forces, which is a big decision in the main game. So Skirmish just offers a little bit of a lighter experience that you can play in a shorter window.
It's bite-sized.
Well, we're going to really talk about the bite-sized edition of Legion here
next.
That's
a nibble.
It's a nibble.
A nibble.
All right. So last year, if you were with us from Ministravaganza, or if you've had the chance to play Special Operations. Obviously, we did a big public beta test of this format. This format is really about being a nibble of Legion, apparently. It's not bite-sized Legion, it's a nibble, an amuse-bouche of Legion. But it also does some really cool things in terms of the overall composition or like collection of the game experiences, in that it allows players to play a game of Legion that tells the individual story of a unit, right? So we see all the time some crack unit or elite unit going in, having to perform some kind of key mission to support the larger army. And the idea behind this is not only does this give players a way to engage with their collections in a faster, kind of very true miniature skirmish way, right, where each miniature itself is its own active character, it also allows players to tie, the goal was to create something that could tie into larger campaign narratives, larger player experiences where you can connect games together. You can have a special operations game. It can have an impact on your larger game. We know as gamers ourselves and just watching the community, if you've ever been to Adepticon and see their different events that we get to partner with them on, tying those bigger storylines, making things feel connected and working together to tell big stories that include our personalized armies. It's a very exciting way to experience these games that is just as important, or sometimes even more important, based on where you fall within the player spectrum of likes and wants, right? We always talk about how every player is a mix of hobby, of narrative, of casual, of competitive, of standard, of all these weird different experiences. So Special Operations was a big push for us. It was pretty exciting to be able to work the community to bring it out faster. We saw the demand from the community last year about wanting an experience like this in Legion, and we launched with two per faction, but we did leave out some of the players because we didn't have a Shadow Collective specific or a Mercenary specific.
That's
one.
true.
But our intention was always to come back, and now one of the cool things we're going to be giving to you all, and we're going to have Mr. Pagani talk about here, is the next 2 units that are coming to Special Operations.
Yes, so we've got 2 more strike teams, I think we call them. I'm not sure.
Yes.
Strike teams coming. We've got the Bright Tree Village Defenders, and we've got Mandalorian Super Commandos are both being added in. And making these after learning all the things that we learned from the public tests and all of the other stuff that we've done, all the play testing that went into the original 8, was really fun because we kind of got to go pretty crazy with it.
Yeah.
And my favorite part, which we'll get to later, is we got to make Mercenary generic command cards, which were great and very, very, very exciting to make. So, kicking it off, Ewoks. Tony,
Ewoks!
Let's see a chieftain
It was
card
all
real quick.
caps, and you didn't even say it that way.
I can't see that.
Yub nub.
Oh my gosh. Yub nub.
So this is a 8-unit squad. So you're going to get 8 little Ewoks, which can be built all out of one box of Ewoks. It is kind of mixed up, so you can't necessarily use just one box from the normal game to use this, but we'll have a good time. So creating sort of the camaraderie between Ewoks, right? They always fight together. They always do these kind of things.
Yeah.
There's kind of always the one guy in charge that gets a cool hat. So that's who we see here, who we saw
The
a
hunting
moment
leader.
ago. Yeah. The head honcho, if you will.
He was adorned in a ceremony.
Yes,
for
definitely.
sure. Chosen by Chief Chirpa himself.
Yes, with a cool little shoulder cloak. Beautiful.
Yes.
Love him. But the Ewok squad is built entirely around just being hyper aggressive and coming out of nowhere, right?
They're in the trees.
They're in the trees, right? So hey, they're not in the trees yet.
Oh, sorry. I'm
Thank you.
jumping ahead.
Thank you. So all of the Ewoks are going to have camouflage, right? Because they're about, 3-4 feet tall. So they just get into places that you wouldn't expect an Ewok or a threat to be, I guess. So they're all significantly harder to hit with ranged attacks. And then the Ewok hunting leader here, he can toot his little horn and sound the alarm and get going, basically.
Yeah, having the Ewoks come out of the little holes.
Yep.
Or move in the new little holes. It's really fun.
So
Especially
you
with
can,
how many of these little Ewoks you get. That 6-inch range can mean a lot of Ewoks moving out of activation, which is really good.
So this little guy, absolutely the linchpin. If you're playing against the Ewoks, if you can get this guy off the table, that's going to help a lot because this free move every round for everybody not everybody, but it's a big area when you're only playing on a 3-foot table. Is very, very important. But Let's show some of the troopers here next. Also, Stone Hatchet, 4 black dice. He knows how to wield it. He's a professional. Okay.
He's no stone axe guy.
That's true.
The heavy, if you will.
The
I love
heavy,
how the heavy
yeah.
just has a big.
They may be small, but they
rock
are
axe.
quite strong.
Quite strong. These Ewoks work out.
Yeah.
Like a lot. How do you think they build those log traps?
It's
Like
true.
you have to have more weight than the log. How many Ewoks do you think it is to hoist one of those up? Is it like
1.
It's just the stone axe Ewok. You just pull just one guy. Yeah, so he's got charge. He's got pierce on that stone axe because, as we see countless times in the movies, whatever
Stormtrooper armor
stone,
is no
Our Ewok hunter
defense.
here.
whatever stone this axe is made out of,
Yeah.
razor sharp.
Yeah.
Right? Comically sharp. So this guy's an absolute force to be reckoned with. A total unit. Getting in there.
He's got
best
a
people up.
big two-handed. Our Ewok hunter here is very impressive. Very impressive.
His mother's very proud of him.
Yeah.
And then we got the Ewok Trapper here. We're going to see what's going on with this guy here in a minute with the command cards, because we do have a command card for the traps. It is very different from the command card in normal Legion, and I'm very excited to have that option to sort of make a second version of that card, because it's one of my favorite cards in Legion, and it is also one of my favorite cards here. So we also have impact on the slings. Once again, whatever these rocks that these Ewoks are throwing, they blow up speeder bikes. They take down ATSTs. They do all this kind of stuff. Now, impact, not super relevant in special operations. It's mostly against like B2s and the crash vehicles
Bit
and that
mission
kind of stuff.
dependent, yep.
But still, I love the thematics of the slings being anti-vehicle weapons.
And you just want the slings to be. You just want to hear those rocks hitting
Yep,
the
absolutely.
armor, right?
It makes such a satisfying sound. Such a satisfying sound. So moving on to our next 2 troopers that are coming in here. And the Ewok Trapper is the support. And then we are into our core here. We have 2 types of core. We have spear and we have sling. So spear Ewoks got charge. These are angry little bears. They're getting in there. Look at that art. Those
Nice
beady
sharp
little
stick.
eyes.
Stabby stab.
Sharp stick, phenomenal. Just beautiful. There's a bunch of those in the squad. They're going to get up there.
That
They're going
does
to poke
look
people.
very intense.
Yeah, no, he's having a great time. He was born for this, just like the clones were. And then the Ewok Slingers. Once again, you need that support, right? You need to be able to put out suppression and in special operations. The slings are very important for that. And then when you do get into the anti-vehicle missions or anything like that, that impact, very relevant. Very, very relevant.
Command cards next, I believe.
Whew. Is it time for the command cards?
Yeah, why not?
Well, there they are, Tony.
We got lots of stuff to go through.
That is true.
Look at them go. They're in the trees.
They're in the trees! I don't know. I feel like there's not nearly enough exclamation points on that
There
card.
are no exclamation points. in
It's
that,
all caps. It's fine.
but
that's
it is
fair.
all caps.
Caps is the exclamation points of font types.
So this is a crazy card. Gives them disengage and speed 3, so they can get anywhere they want to go at that point. Especially with charge, it is it's so terrifying.
It is. Especially if you're playing the Transmission mission, where the Ewoks, I guess, are trying to like email their leaves off of the planet or something. This card, you really got to be holding down those transmission
Email
points.
stands for Endor Mail. by the
Endor
way.
mail? Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I even got
Oh, he
Tony
got
with
me.
that one.
Oh God.
No. This is they are built to be using this card, and it is absolutely fantastic whenever they play it. They play it.
I'm still not here. Hold on. Okay. We also have canonical Ewok feet there.
Yeah.
So beautiful.
Log traps. That's
Log
what you want
traps.
to talk about now.
Beautiful. Love it. What does it
Okay.
do? Your opponent's trying to win the game. It says no.
Wow.
We will have more time for these Ewoks to run around because we're going to suppress all your units. Maybe do some damage with the attrition rolls. Get in there. It's going to be great. And I love the art. Once again, these are hefty trees.
Hefty.
Hefty trees.
Hefty
Axe
trees.
Ewok lifted each one of those by himself.
Yeah.
All right.
So-
So that takes us to the end of Ewoks. But, well, Ewoks, I think some people were excited for. The next thing was the most requested one out of all the beta tests,
Sure.
which was give us Mandos.
Yes. So we have done that. We have prepared the first. Oh, hold on. One more thing about the Ewok command cards. We don't have to go back to it, Tony. Don't worry about it. Is they are rebels.
Yeah.
So they're going to be using the other 3 generic rebel
So you
cards.
can play Hero of the
You
Rebellion
can play the Hero of the Rebellion command card
on Axe Ewok
on
as
Axe
it should
Ewok.
be.
Yes. This is what we all wanted. At least what
Wait,
I
is
wanted.
it on Axe Ewok? I have to.
I'm pretty sure it's one of anybody, but it'll be fine.
Yeah.
So into the Mandalorians here. Mandalorians, obviously, lifelong warriors, right? These guys are.
That's a lot of
they're
dice
trained
on
in
those
everything.
cards. Look at
There's
all
a lot of dice.
Look at
on
that
those
rainbow
cards.
of dice.
You're going to notice a lot of similarities between the ARC Trooper squad and this squad because they're very similar, right? They're all going to have red saves. They all have
Very
these
elite.
jetpacks. They're this elite strike force unit that is highly trained, highly specialized, really great at all the things that they do here. So the first thing that you're going to see on this card is Arsenal because it's at the top, and that's how I read things. Why do they have Arsenal, you ask? Well, I'm so glad you asked. Someone, because their loadout cards will give them additional weapons that they can use in addition to just what is printed on these cards. So they have different grenades, they have flamethrowers, they have all that kind of stuff that you can pick from. So that is why Arsenal is there. And that is why the captain here has Arsenal 3 because he's also got Versatile. So he can do all sorts of weird stuff and crazy things with 3 different weapons at once because he is the best trained of all the Mandalorian super commandos, being the captain. We're all speed 3. We're all wearing jetpacks. We all got bound. This is a very aggressive force. You're going to see that all the way through here. Mandalorian training. These guys have been training together forever. They know how to fight together. They're going to help each other out. Whereas the ARC Troopers gave out dodge tokens or gained dodge tokens themselves, the Mandalorian training is much more aggressive, right? It gives out aim tokens, pushes their damage even further.
So it is
pushes
cool
their,
to see
that
them like
aggression.
working in pairs and getting their aim tokens, even though they're very elite.
Yeah, and we always love to say Mandalorians are stronger together. That 6-inch range keeps them a little clumped up. Not a great thing to have to do if you're playing with just a few miniatures.
That's right.
So, whereas the Ewoks, they had that 6-inch. There's a million of those, so they can move anywhere they want to go. These guys have to stay together, and there's not a ton of them. So a lot of the scenarios do benefit spreading out. It's going to be rough on
You
these
have
guys,
to make
but
decisions.
they got the firepower to back it up. Those hand blasters are phenomenal. So we've got the gunslinger on the right here. That's one of their heavy weapons. I guess it's their heavy weapon. Very aggressive, very powerful, rapid fire. Love it, right? Let's move on to the next set of cards here. We've got just sort of the generic super commando. Once again, not chill at all. This guy is here to party. And then we've also got the marksman, which really is supplying that fire support to the main units. They all have Mandalorian training. They're going to get 2 marksmen in the squad, so they can kind of help each other out with aim tokens if you need to go with that kind of stuff. While your other super commandos are advancing, you've got the gunslinger in there, you've got the captain. Lots of stuff going around. And the marksmen give you that nice range 14 versus the range 8 on all the hand blasters, which is very short. So you do get that 14
precise
there.
2.
Yeah, and the precise 2, once again, they can use that training. Free aim, even better. Even better. Still speed 3, still has a jetpack, right? So that's sort of the run through of those Mandalorians and how they work. But this is a mercenary.
Brand new.
Which means we need
section
generic.
of the game.
Which means we need generic mercenary cards. So let's talk about those for a minute. These are the 3 general mercenary cards that will be taken by every mercenary special operation force. You say everyone. Perhaps there might be more in the future. Who could possibly know? Who
I
could
feel like they
possibly
will.
know? These don't even have Mandalorians on them. Why would that be?
I really
No
like
one.
the theme on these.
Yes. Talk about it. Go for it.
Yeah. So the being able to gain observation tokens and doing showy moves in order to get benefits is just very, very cool. Very brash.
Yeah, I mean, we had to build something that wasn't just specifically Mandalorians, right? It's got to encompass other possible options like Pikes, Black Sun, Sweet Bike Riders, all this kind of stuff, right? So we've got to be able to give the theme of all of that and kind of make it make sense. So brash tactics, once again, you get to zoom on out there, but you get an observation token, right? You're running out of your cover, you're running out of your safe zone, you're doing something crazy. Brash tactics, 1 pip, go real quick, get your observation token. Ruthless, once again, just a powerful card, right? Suppressive is phenomenal. It can pull people off objectives, it can do damage through armor saves, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
and
and
Mercenary Tactics is my personal favorite.
Yeah, I think that's extremely cool. Being able to just like run out and taunt the enemy into attacking you and gaining a dodge token
And an observation token. So
right. Right.
Like you're moving quick, so you get the dodge, right? But they're like, oh my gosh, there they are.
And then all the other ones get aim tokens, so it's it's very well. It's very easy to picture.
And some beautiful art here as well. I love all of these things. So there's our generics.
Yep. And then the Mandalorians will bring 2 unique Mandalorian ones, right?
Absolutely. So the Mandalorians usually fly around in gauntlet fighters. We wanted to find some way to get them represented on the table here. That was a really important thing to me. mostly because I think they look really cool.
Absolutely.
So getting this gauntlet support run, it's dropping off bombs, it's doing all sorts of nasty stuff to your opponent. They're part of the fight as well, right? It's never just the Mandalorians on the ground. There's always this whole backing behind them and that kind of stuff. So you do get to do that, which is sweet. And then victory or death, right? This is a culture based entirely around war and warfare. They don't back down. They don't run away. They don't do these things. This is a very aggressive team. This is a team that knows that they have to get the mission completed, and if they can't...
And this gives you that similar option to the Ewoks, those speed 3 charges. So you move very, very far and get engaged. It's go time.
Yeah, this is the go time one, right? You get up there, you do your stuff. If you didn't defeat someone, you're going to get a bunch of suppression. You've dishonored yourself. You've dishonored your clan. You're done.
Sadness.
Yes. These were a lot of fun to make. They did all sorts of crazy stuff in playtest, zooming around the table, shooting from all sorts of different positions. It was really
I liked the death matches between the Mandos and the ARC Troopers. It felt very elite on elite.
Absolutely.
With different flavors. So that was pretty fun to see. Of course, this is not the end for Spec Ops. So
certainly not.
These brand new. There we go. I clearly need more coffee. These 2 brand new squads. All of the rules are going to be available in a print and play PDF document on atomicmassgames.com right after this panel ends. So you can download them, check them out, start adding them to your game of Spec Ops. We're not done with this game mode. We really enjoy it. We like what it brings to the game in terms of like a new way to play and a way to experience the collections like we talked about earlier. So we have a couple more plans in place, several of which are around some of the squads that you're going to see and we've been showing off throughout the week, including the Ride Control Squad and the
Rebel
I want to call them the Saboteurs because that was their original working title,
Yes.
but it's the Rebel Sleeper Cell.
Yep. So those 2 will be getting Spec Ops iterations.
And I'm sure a couple more probably along the way as well.
Absolutely. And why not some more scenarios eventually?
Some more scenarios would be wonderful.
I do love asymmetric narrative scenarios.
Speaking of narrative scenarios.
That's true. These ones are symmetrical.
And ways to play. Well, yeah, but we're not just talking about Spec Ops. We're also going to go back now to standard games.
That's true.
Of Star Wars Legion. So it wasn't enough. Overall, it just wasn't enough. It wasn't enough Legion this weekend.
There's never enough.
We hit players with a brand new battle deck. We hit players with updated units and everything else. But we were like, why just update the normal way to play? Why not give people another way to play standard Legion that can like shake things up and do a little changes?
We want people to be able to customize and play the game how they want to play.
Most importantly, a way in which to make the world they're on meaningful and impactful to the game itself. So we're happy to present a brand new mode, which is the name of the war table here for Star Wars Legion, as an optional way to play the game called Theaters of War. So Ben, take us through what Theaters of War means.
So Theaters of War is an optional, you change the setup for the game so that you don't use advantage cards for that game, and instead you use these Theaters of War, which are effects that you roll every turn. So it sets the battle on a particular planet or dangerous environment. And so let's take a look at the cards.
Yeah, so the different dangerous environment options, right?
Right.
We have made 4 of them. There's 2 on the screen at the moment. We'll get to the other 2 just in a moment here. But the idea here is that you can set the dressing or set the scene for your battle. Because there's so many cool places that fights happen in all over Star Wars, right? Yeah. And you'll notice that the titles of these are not Bespin or are not Cloud City or whatever, right? Like for the flying base one, right? The severe weather one isn't Exegol or whatever. It's intentionally kept very vague so that the players themselves can decide where they are fighting, but we're giving you rules that you can try and fit your narrative to, right?
You can choose one based on the table setup that you happen to be playing on your game store. You can specifically tailor them to the table that you have at your house, or you can simply just create the idea behind whatever you happen to be playing on if you decide to use this mode. Again, just like we talked about with the connection of special operations to main games of Legion being a great way to create more narrative and campaign themes around stuff, have games be interconnected. This is another really wonderful way to kind of do that and add those elements into those less standard games, right?
Right.
If your gaming group wants to get together and run a larger campaign, this is another tool in that toolbox.
These are really particularly good for setting the scene and making sure you know which type of environment you're in. I think that's
So,
the
Ben, if
idea.
you could run us through real quick how the setup for these works, just as an overall level, because look at the documents here.
So yeah,
little bit.
and instead of having advantage cards, before the game, you and your opponent choose to use one of these cards, and whenever you would normally set up your advantage, there's a phase and setup in the game in the standard game. This replaces that setup with each player takes turns placing an advantage marker until they've placed 2 apiece. So this lets you kind of determine where these effects are taking place, or a lot of times the tokens are where the effects are not taking place because they're like shelters.
Yep.
So that's depending on the individual effect. So
let's run through severe weather here.
Yeah, at the beginning of each battle round, you're going to roll one red defense die, and if you roll a blank, you get reduced visibility for that round. So that's going to make it harder for things to shoot each other.
Then clouds rolling in, hot and heavy.
Yeah. So that's gives the storm shelter is suppression token removal. Yeah.
Yep, and you get ready exhausted upgrade cards. You get a respite.
I forgot about that one for a second. Yeah, so that's the main result. So that's the block result is the most often that you see. So that'll make the severe weather pretty often like advantageous to have on the battlefield. And whenever you're kind of deciding which ones you want to use, the severe weather, that block effect is the one you'll see the most often, right? And then
it's 3 out of the 6 faces.
the rare effect is the surge effect, so there's only one face on the die.
These are usually the wild ones.
Yeah. So the flying debris gives you suppression, right? Even if you're in the shelter, right, on a block result, that unit gains 1 suppression token, and then if you're away from it, you get more, right?
So you get to roll for if you're close, and then if you're not,
yes,
you're just gonna get it for sure. I've had a lot of fun with this one, doing things like, I mean, I guess this playtest may have actually happened before we removed exhaust from a lot of the heavy weapons, but that was very cool to
to run in and reload your
to reload all your HH12s and stuff, right? Like, and
Yeah,
we ended up
sure.
removing exhaust, so I guess not a great story, but that was really fun with this one, that you have sort of like your hunker down positions, you have your things, you can put your like stormtrooper heavy response units on these things, right? And
yeah, there's still
that was very,
V2s,
very, very
fleet troopers have exhaust
fun.
weapons.
Yeah, for sure. For
Yeah.
sure.
So this one's a little more.
But the best one is flying base
Nope.
My favorite is flying base.
because it has tubes.
Yeah, it has the tubes.
It has a
not the
transit
best one,
tube
though.
system.
The best
So-
one's on the next slide.
Nope.
No. The flying base, whenever you roll a block, units that start next to one of these transit systems gain jump 2 for as an action, and treat their maximum speed as 3 for the round. So that's just like have pneumatic tubes is one way you could represent it.
I just assume we're on the banking clan world,
I like
and
to
they're
picture
just
it more
everything's
as
tubes.
jump packs are. There's
packs.
taxis.
I will accept
I like to think
taxis
about
if
taxis.
the taxis go through a hamster-like tube system. Pneumatic tubes only, Ben.
Well, it really depends on which table you build. I
Imagine
would
the
love
noise.
to see the pneumatic tube table with the hamster planet, the flying base.
Well, get on it, guys. I guess somebody's got to build a hamster planet now.
Yeah, but this is like we said, they're generic and you can flavor it how you like. So I like to picture little taxi cars or jump packs or something.
I'm a taxi car guy myself.
Yeah.
Or like one of those little speeder cars, sort of like in, I don't know which one of the prequel movies it is, but like when they're on Coruscant, and everyone's like jumping from car to car.
Car to car.
That's what I'm seeing here.
Yeah, I
It's just,
think-
it's just the highway to the danger zone, then.
Yep.
Yeah, this would represent sort of that Coruscant scene pretty well if you play that. So in the clouds is your visibility is restricted, so it makes shooting harder if you're not by one of the advantage tokens, right? And then buckle up is pretty wild. So your opponent moves you if you roll a defensive surge after you move. So every time you move, you roll a red defense die. You roll a defense die, and on a surge result, your opponent moves you. So that can only happen once per round, but it is crazy whenever you get that result. So things can shift wildly with that result.
And I like this one, like from a thematic. So we're talking about tubes and everything, but like what it really kind of represents is fighting on, in Atmo on a Star Destroyer is like exterior hull, right?
Or something that's moving, or anything that's moving like that.
Or like, a Cloud City-like environment, but the engines have been blown up and it's crashing. Like, we see this all the time in a lot of different Star Wars media where these battles happen and there's calamity. And so a lot of this really jives into that when you start to be a little less silly with it. But it's day 3 Ministrav. We got to be silly.
Hamster
This is when
Sky City.
This is when the tubes are breaking.
Exactly.
Broken tubes.
So
we've got 2 more as well, yeah. And the best one is actually Fearsome Fauna.
This one is really good. Okay, this one's really good. This one's really good. This one's really good.
The concept for this one, right, is that whatever it is that lives wherever you're fighting is here. Right?
Yeah. So there could be like a grazing herd of dewback.
Yep.
Right. A grazing is not necessarily, but a roaming herd of dewback, right?
Sure.
And you can hide amongst them with low profile.
Yep.
Right. That's the block result. So that's really cool. But
and dewbacks are known to stampede once again, right? So you can kind of theme this around these different things. And personally, I plan to build some different tokens that represent these kind of things, right?
Absolutely.
So maybe get some extra dewback hits, or some little critters.
These move around. These make the advantage tokens move around, right? So that kind of represents having animals moving around is pretty cool.
Apex predators like banthas.
There's some really again.
Probably
once you start diving into it, right? You can use this to represent Hoth, right? And your apex predators like a Wampa and stuff like that. Tatooine, where you have banthas and crate dragons, and you can do Felucia, right? You could even do Endor with some of the creatures on it.
It could be an Ewok.
The idea behind these, right, was to really drive home that narrative that you get to tell and give you some very cool and interesting challenges. Which, when you look at the main rules, has been kind of mentioned, but it's worth reiterating again, is that the way in which you place the tokens from which these effects are measured is a bit of a mini game in itself, because you can place them to advantage yourself, you can place them to mess with your opponent, and so that again, replacing that advantage system, there's still a lot of things that you can think about.
It's both tactical and storytelling, like strategic. You can it adds another layer of different type of style of play to the game, right?
So when playtesting Fearsome Fauna, my favorite thing to do was always to make a little pen of barricades, and then put one of the tokens inside.
Sure.
And you'd be like, they're contained, and then they move around. You're like, they're no longer contained.
They broke free.
They're on a rampage.
Who deactivated the electric fences?
And then Fusion Bomb Planet, also a phenomenal one.
I mean, people have already picked up where this one's coming from, but obviously heavily influenced by the destruction of Mandalore.
Absolutely.
Yes.
But I'm sure that has happened in other places as well. And you can now live through that.
It could happen in your own campaign tales.
This is by far the most dangerous of the cards.
Yes,
right?
This one is not messing around.
If you want to play, where both players are playing in very harsh, hard mode conditions, where everything is likely to die, right? It's this, right? It defeats miniatures with the radiation storm if you're not by the shelters on the blank result, right? So that is pretty brutal, especially for something that's coming up 1/3 of the time. And then not being able to issue orders on a surge makes it so there's just disarray. And then the glass surface makes it so it's hard to move around with difficult terrain. And you can gain suppression to ignore that by scrabbling over the rocks, right? Scrabbling over the glass.
Yeah, it shows that you can't keep your composure while you're trying to traverse this terrain, which I really like. I think that's actually my favorite effect on this one, because I don't know, it just tells a really good story, right? That even the open ground is not always friendly or fair.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are the 4 different dangerous environments that we have made so far.
Yes.
I'm sure there will be more in the future as well.
I have no doubt. I mean, there's so many different environments and ways to play with the idea, but obviously we really wanted to provide, again, a lot of really exciting stuff for the standard play environment, a lot of things to digest, but also to ensure that we're maintaining our commitment in terms of making sure that all players' collections are valuable in many different ways, and that there are a lot of different game modes to express, and play the way that you would like to play with. These are kind of the start here, and we're looking forward to see how players utilize them. Obviously, the Dangerous Environments cards are meant more for a casual or campaign narrative style play.
Yeah, it's more of a mix-up
events
day and night.
absolutely can use them as well, right? Like you
Yeah.
can have a Dangerous Environments event where players don't come with their advantage cards, and instead maybe the organizers set up specific tables that each represent one of the environments. Maybe
Absolutely.
the environment is chosen randomly throughout the game. I think there's so many cool different ways to dive in and accept these challenges and handle the strategic and tactical decisions that each one represents. Of course, we've seen special operations events and things like that, but overall, again, this is and this panel isn't super long, but we want to give you the chance to digest all the materials and everything, and kind of just make sure that we're providing all of these different options and things to go. And of course, there's more to explore as we move forward. We've kind of focused on alterations to the smallest of games, the nibbles, the bite sizes with Skirmish, and we have more plans for Skirmish, the hors d'oeuvres, the main course, which is the standard game, and different variations and spices on that, and we have more ideas to come. And then, of course, I think the ultimate next step is to look forward into what does an even bigger buffet table of Legion potentially look like as we build this great foundation of the rebalance and of the update to the current edition of everything, and as we move forward. So there's always going to be more exciting stuff. We're always working behind the scenes on all these different things. Of course, when we have great ideas and we need the community's help, like with special operations, public beta tests can be a thing that can happen, but otherwise we're just very excited to see how everyone takes these tools that we provided over the course of the last 3 days. Acclimates to everything, how Legion continues to subsist and grow and expand, people coming new into the community, and of course, as we've discussed in the original panel, the entirety of this update, this big rebalance, is not done. We've given you kind of the part one. Of course, we need to move forward and have all of the cards that have been released as print and play moved into a physical form. So the card packs are going to be coming along with that. We're going to have more information on what to expect going forward with Legion at the Adepticon roadmap next year. So we have a bunch of big surprises there that we're looking forward to sharing when the time is right. And plenty more in store. A lot of things. Hopefully, they'll catch people by surprise and also excite them as well. So we're looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's going to be great.
Woo! All right, thank you so much for joining us for this one. Be sure to tune in. We're going to have a developer kind of roundtable. So if you're interested in the development and design philosophies over the last 5 years for AMG, we're just going to be chatting, hanging out. We'll be taking some questions from the chat as well about that and kind of interacting. And that'll just be a fun little chill way to close out. I think it's our last official panel.
Before closing ceremonies.
Before closing ceremonies. There's, of course, some great hobby content still left to go. I know Dallas is up next painting something. It might be the cell. Is it the Rebel cell? I think it is. I think
Glasses are on.
Tony put his glasses on so he could read.
This is Mandalore.
Mandalore. So he's painting Mandalore. I don't know what that means, but it sounds really exciting.
Is it the plates?
He's painting the
whole
planet of Mandalore.
It's going to need a big brush.
So be sure to stick around for that. Hang out with him. Check it out. We should really get the schedule in front of us at some point. Not rely on Tony and his glass reading because
well, it was glass.
Doesn't feel right. Yeah. Exactly. If you're curious about the Outer Rim terrain pack, Dallas actually painted those in the last stream last night, so you can check that out. We had a couple of surprises on there as well. And of course, we will see you for the rest of the day and closing ceremonies. Thank you so much for joining us, and goodbye.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.